Good morning, chemistry students. So this week we are going to be looking at a very simple concept. Now, as you know, sometimes you have too much chemical, sometimes you don't have enough. Now, when we're talking about this with a hamburger, that's like, hey, I've only got 8 buns, but I've got 9 hamburgers. Now, one of those would be the excess and one would be the limiting factor. Now, if I only have 8 hamburger buns, that's my limit. I can only make 8 hamburgers. But if I've got 9 extra hamburger patties, that would be the excess. So I'd be left with 1 patty, which works out fine with my family because my wife doesn't eat the bun anyways. So today we're going to take a look at what happens when we're using our baking soda and vinegar. Now, we've talked about alchemy. Alchemy was the science of just throwing stuff together to see what actually happened. Now today we're going to try and do this using a kind of scientific derivative of alchemy. You will notice here that I have 40 milliliters. Now a milliliter is of course a metric term for liquids, and I have 40 milliliquid liters. I'm going to put that in my large container. Now here, you'll notice that I have 10 milligrams. Now liters and grams, liters are for liquids, grams are for solids, and it gives me a weight. Now this is a zeroed element because as I take weight off my scale, you can see that it balances. Now, you'll also notice that it's a little bit over 10 because I had to account for the weight of the paper. Now we're going to dump this into our vinegar. Now, baking soda's formula, if you'll notice right here, is baking soda is actually sodium bicarbonate, which is NaHCO3. Vinegar or acetic acid is CH3COOH. So vinegar is an acid, baking soda is a base. So we're about to see an acid-base reaction. Now in an acid-base reaction, the first thing that we get is carbon dioxide. That was all the bubbling you saw. The second thing we get is water. Now, as you can see, there's a white residue left in the bottom here. That white residue is one of the things we're going to work on next week. Now, the question is, did we use up all of our vinegar and did we use up all of our baking soda? How can we possibly tell? Well, if we take just a little more baking soda and we drop it in, if it reacts, that means that there's vinegar left in our liquid solution. As you can see, almost no reaction. But what about with our vinegar? Well, if we take our vinegar and we put more vinegar in and it reacts, that meant that there was still baking soda that could activate. So, which would be our limiting reaction? Well, which one did we run out of first? The vinegar. So since we ran out of vinegar first, vinegar was our limiting reaction, which means that our excess was the baking soda. Did everybody follow? So this week, you guys are going to duplicate this, but I need you to also make sure that you're finding out the ratio. how much vinegar will use up how much baking soda. So like last week when you made the trail mix and you said, for every 3 almonds, I'm going to have 1 raisin. Well, now I need to know how many milliliters will you use per grams. Now, some of you are saying, but Mr. Bartlett, I don't have a scale at home. That's okay. Do you have a spoon or a teaspoon or a quarter spoon? If you have any way of measuring, that's still a scale. And scales are science. Just throwing stuff in there is alchemy. So let's try a little science this week. Now, by the way, your math problems are going to help you do this using science and math rather than just experimenting. But the experimenting's way more fun. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye now.